I have become the best known sport flooring contractor in the world, and I'm just getting started. Hello, this is Paul Nelson with Western Sport Floors, Wyoming Wood Floors, coming to you today from Cascade, Montana, just outside of Great Falls. We are working on the Cascade gymnasium floor. Now, this is kind of an interesting job because we are going to end up doing a two-color stain. We're going to stain a border. And that border is going to be a dark walnut. And we're also going to stain the three-point arches. Three-point arches are going to be a special walnut stain. So I decided today to do a short video on staining a gymnasium floor. This is not meant to be the definitive video on staining a gymnasium floor, but this will go through our techniques on staining a gym floor and what it is that we do. And this is an ever evolving process. So the first thing that we do, and I'm not going to go into this too much, is tape out the floor. We've taped out an 18-inch border on the sides. There's a 4-foot border in the end zones. And of course, the three-point arches and the keys have been taped out. So the next step is the water pop. So when we talk about the water pop, we are simply applying a small amount of water directly to the raw maple in as even of a coat as possible. There's many ways of doing this. This is the way that we've been working on here. Got one guy with a water can putting down just a little bit of water. The other man coming along with a T-bar and applying that water, not very different than applying finish. We're trying to be careful not to get it much outside the lines. Although I have to say, I've never noticed in the raw finish a huge problem when we water pop outside the line. I've heard people say that it needs to be sanded. I've never been able to tell the difference. We use an oil modified sealer and finish, and I can't ever tell where we went outside the line with the water pop. So it isn't something that I worry a lot about, but as you can see, they're keeping this neat, orderly, and primarily just getting the water pop within the area that we're going to stain. As soon as we're done with this water pop, this application of the water on the floor, we're going to go to dinner and we're going to spend an hour, hour and a half and let this completely dry before we start the stain process. Okay, now we're getting ready to stain. I'm going to go through some things that we do. There's a lot of great stains out there by Poloplaz, by Bona, basic coatings. Lots of folks make floor stains. I have come to rely on Minwax interior stain simply because we work in a lot of rural school districts throughout Montana, Wyoming, northern Idaho, where we simply have difficulty getting product. We're out on the road a lot, but I can always stop by an Ace Hardware and buy a Minwax product. So I use a lot of Minwax. Years ago, I was on a job having some difficulty with some stain, and a painter told us a little trick. This is a pre-stain product, and she said, just mix the pre-stain with your stain. I don't know what it does, but it really seems to help even the application of the stain. So I always take a Minwax pre-stain, mix it, about 2 parts stain to 1 part this stuff. So one of the things that I always note is that at the bottom of the can, there always seems to be solids, and those solids, I think, have a lot of your colorant in them. So I'm pretty careful to mix in some of this pre-stain and try and get all the solids out of the bottom. So we've mixed in 2 quarts of the Minwax pre-stain into our 1 gallon of special walnut that we're going to stain these three-point arches with. I've taken the pre-stain and really tried to mix out all the solids on the bottom. And now we're just going to use another vessel. Now our stain is ready to go. And by the way, I've done this in the parking lot, so if I spill just a little bit, hopefully it's not as big a deal as if I spilled some on the sidewalk or we're in the gym. Okay, what we're doing here is we're doing the border in a slightly different color. This is a dark walnut as opposed to the special walnut that's going into the key area. This 1-inch piece of tape is going to separate the two colors of maple, or excuse me, the two colors of stain. And so he's being real careful, my helper is being real careful to hand rub that stain in. We do have a 2-inch game line that goes over that, so we do have just a little bit of a fudge factor. But as you can see now, when I start this buffer, this combination of the water pump and the pre-stain makes the stain go on at really a cabinet shop quality job. And so that really is the process, just over and over and over again. So here we are, we've worked our way around the gym. Jarrett is carefully, by hand, working his way up to this 1-inch tape because we have two different colors of stain. So I am sneaking up to the tape with that roller, and then by hand he is continuing to carefully work that stain in. Now that stain that he's on is wet, but he's being real careful, and that's also been buffed in. Even though it's technically wet, he's not smudging it or anything. And now I'm going to hop on the buffer and continue the process. Okay, so just to wrap up, what we did last night is that we stained two colors of stain, a border, dark walnut, the two 3-point arches, and a special walnut. Well, we then took up all the additional tape. We did leave the 1-inch tape that we originally laid out the court with. And then we used a palm sander to sand out any of the stain where we had stained outside the lines or dripped. And then we coated this floor last night around the stained areas. We didn't coat the stained areas. This morning when we came in, we padded all the stain, and now we're coating and of course cleaned the floor. And now we're coating the entire floor with a second coat of sealer.